A house and front yard that didn't make much of a statement before sure has plenty to say now. The old inaccessible slope features a new winding staircase with plenty of interest along the way, all leading to a grand front porch that's perfect for taking it all in. I can't get over how well the new porch looks like it was actually part of the original house.
And that's the best compliment anybody can ever pay a homeowner who's doing a renovation, is that, you know, people will go by and ask, was that there the whole time? You want it to blend in with the history and the theme of the house, and it really does that.
So have other people said the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I've gotten a lot of feedback like that. It's been good.
DJ, access was an issue before work began. Before the project, you had to walk all the way up the driveway, hang a 90-degree turn, and then walk the length of the house just to get to the front door, but that's all changed.
Right, it was terrible to start with. The number one thing I hate about approaching a house is having to walk up the driveway to get to the front door. That's how it was. So we knew we wanted to do a front path through the front yard. We didn't want to do it like this straight shot to the house from the street, though. Doing it off center like this gives more interest. We created these kind of architectural elements, the column, the curved wall, as the lead-in to say, you know, this is where you enter. But you're meant to kind of take your time and enjoy the journey as you get up to the house.
The columns at the street provide a nice entryway, and it kind of gives it an architectural touch. But not only that, it gave you a great place to put your grandparents' tile.
Right, absolutely. Everybody who's been to the house has asked about it, and I'm happy to tell them because it's a good story. It makes my mom happy too. So.
And if mom's happy, everybody's happy.
That's right.
There's another detail I noticed, and it's this stone that has the house number engraved in it, and I'm guessing there's a story behind it too.
There is, yeah. The great part about excavating the basement is that we ran across all of these probably 10 or 12 slabs of marble that were just lying around. So what we decided to do was to bring the marble into the garden and use it here and kind of thread it through, a lot like the Mexican tile.
It's kind of cool to think these were just sitting in a box in the basement, and they're kind of like the equivalent to your grandparents' tiles, and now it's part of the story. Another great detail out here in the yard is what you call the hug patio.
Yeah, and it really turned out well. One of the shortcomings of the house before this development was that it was only just a couple steps up to the front door. It didn't have any presence to it. There's really no way to greet and say goodbye to guests, and now there's a great place to come in. When people are coming up the walkway, I can say hello, and when people are leaving the house, I can say goodbye to them on the hug patio. I mean, it's a great way to greet and say goodbye, but it's also sort of a congregational place also where people can just kind of hang out. The spillover from the patio, if you will, you know, that kind of thing.
That brings us to the porch. The porch was key to the whole project.
Yeah, exactly. There's really no point in doing the front yard if you're not going to get the porch right.
And you really paid a lot of attention to details.
Yeah, that's key for establishing the style. We were kind of restyling the house a little bit. It didn't have a strong style. So we wanted to really play up the Southern plantation colonial feel to it. In wanting to say Southern colonial when you walk up to the house, nothing says that better than these white columns. Very classical, heavy proportions, slightly bulging, and the railing is just a great classic detail, this kind of Chippendale-like cross.
You really want everything to blend.
That's key. When we get done, we want it to look like nothing happened. It was perfect from the get-go. So the old and the new blend seamlessly. Those details really jump out at you from the street. You notice them.
It all fits in with the approach that you took all along the way. You call it the fancy hammer. Did you strike the right balance?
I think we did, because a lot of the stuff is very understated, and we're letting a lot of the plantings grow in over time. So it's not like we're flipping a switch and it's going to be fancy right from the beginning. We're not hitting anybody over the head with a fancy hammer at all. And I think that in 5 years, you come back in 5 years, it's going to look great. And I got 5 years.
You wanted to preserve the history of this house through the entire project, and you actually wrote the last few chapters yourself.
Yeah, and you know, I feel honored to be able to do that, because we're in these houses for a finite period. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I think I'm going to be here for a while, but for this chapter, I want to write the best chapter I possibly can. I feel like this has been a good chapter because we have a porch that fits in with the house. We have a garden that complements the house and creates that handshake we talked about. It's a great chapter until the next person takes over for me.
Well, Will, it may not be fancy, but it is definitely fantastic. So thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Pleasure, thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Groundbreakers. We'll see you next time.
So Justin, I've got something for you.
What's that? The fancy hammer. It really does exist.
It does?
How does it work?
I'm glad you asked.
Fancy.